Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Monday to get the week going right. It's our very good friend, Michael Wiseman. Michael, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
I'm just spending some quality time on Twitter today, thinking about making my own bid for the social media giant. What do you got to add to it? You got any money?
Oh man, what can I offer Twitter that $44 billion can't? I have a bag of Taco Bell hot sauce packets in my utensils drawer. If you are interested in the bag of hot sauce packets, maybe we can make a deal, Twitter. Am I right?
How much do you think the tape library of Twitter is worth?
Great question. That's good. When are we going to get our Twitter Plus platform, right?
That's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a lot of news to get to here today. About a half hour or so to do it. If you are watching us live, thanks for tuning in. We are back on the main page of the site. We have fixed the live streaming capabilities. So if you are on the main page of Wrestling Inc. right now, you may be tuned into this program. And if you're not, if you're on any of the other socials, thanks for jumping in. You can be just like Samantha here, who says, "Good day, Nick and Mike." Drop us a comment. Maybe we'll put it up here on the screen. We'll talk about you as part of the show. Later on after the news, we'll dive in the mailbag. We're going to look at Randall Orton, tonight on Raw. They're going to celebrate 20 years of Randy Orton since his WWE debut. Has anything ever made you feel older than the fact that we are about to celebrate 20 years of Randy Orton? Not me.
Randy, you know what? I think Austin being back in the ring at WrestleMania after 20 years or however long it had been since his last match made me feel pretty old, thinking that there had been that much time that had transpired since his previous match. But I don't know. Randy Orton's one of those guys, talk about it later, that I feel like now he's just going to go for broke. I felt like a couple of years ago he was about done, but now I'm like, oh, he's got 15 years ahead of him still, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And that's the thing. So, yeah, we're going to dedicate the whole mailbag here today to the Viper, Randy Orton. Out of nowhere, we're going to talk about Randy. So save your Randy thoughts for later on in the mailbag. Like I said, the comment section is open. We got no interview today, though we will have a big one tomorrow. I'll tease that right now. You know what? Before we get to the news, I'll announce it here up top just while everybody's tuned in and listening. Next week, I will be gone. I am taking my first vacation since becoming a pro wrestling journalist about 6 or 7 years ago, full time. And this one's just for me. I did a little one with Liz a couple years ago. We went to Disney World for like 2 or 3 days, but I'll be gone for over a week. It's going to be wonderful. And next week, while I'm gone, Michael's going to be hosting the Wrestling Inc. Daily all 5 days next week, Michael. I'm very excited to see how different and better the show is with you hosting it and not me.
Let's not get carried away, Nick. I am super excited to be hosting next week, mostly because, listen, I love doing the show with you every Monday. It's a ton of fun for me.
Sure.
But I never get to interact with the other co-hosts.
I know.
So for me, this is a chance to go out there and do the show with them on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and get their unique perspectives and generate some fun chemistry there. You know, I got to do it with Justin before he left. But yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. Where are you going?
I'm going to Spain.
Oh, cool. Good for you, man.
I'm going very far away, and I'll be on a boat, and I won't be able to engage. I can't do anything. So I literally will just be freeing my mind and clearing the cobwebs up there. And coming back, I hope a refreshed and better man, and maybe a better host. But again, it's going to all be better with Michael next week. So show him some love. Be sure to tune in live, engage the comment section, make his life easy. Just be nice. Let's all have a good time. It's time for news you can use.
Just a little nice.
Time for news you can use, news that'll leave a bruise. Let's talk about Raw tonight. Man, tonight's Raw, and I say this not to oversell expectations, but I'm getting a kind of like a post-Mania Raw vibe off of tonight's Raw a little bit. There's some real buzz here going into tonight's show. All of the Raw buzz here, by the way, coming to us from our friends over at Fightful. But the big one for me is that as of this weekend, again, according to Fightful, a possible return to WWE TV for Mustafa Ali was discussed. There was reportedly even a pitch made for him to appear this Monday on Raw, and I believe there was also a follow-up where they talked about how he might be doing something with Miz. In fact, I'm confident that they did a follow-up where they said he might be doing something with Miz tonight. What are your thoughts on a potential return of Mustafa?
I will tell you, I'm a little bit surprised based off of where we left things a few months ago with the soured pitch, with the rumors of Mustafa not being super happy with that,
Yeah.
and kind of feeling like there was some contention between him and WWE Brass. So maybe they've smoothed it over, hopefully, potentially. But I think I'm also excited because it's been disappointing to have such a talent on the shelf for so long. And you got to know he's hungry to get back out there at somewhere, wherever it might be, hopefully on Raw tonight, and get back in front of the fans and not be rusty at what he does best.
Yeah, no, I'm very optimistic. I'm hopeful that this is true. I mean, he's in the prime of his career, his life right now. I mean, he's old enough to understand how to tell a great match in the ring, and he's still young enough to be able to deliver on those expectations in those matches right now. It is really a waste just having Ali at home right now. I think the Miz stuff is fine. Obviously, people want to cheer Mustafa like right now, and if you're just going to bring him out as a white meat baby face to just have some fun, who's better to play with than the Miz? He's a great heel. But, he teased a match with Cody Rhodes the other day on social media, and he wanted the American Nightmare versus the real American Nightmare, I think is how he referred to himself. And I can just see Ali being the kind of person Cody would want to work with right now. I think that Ali kind of saying that he would be open to the bout, maybe as a way to open the door to getting back on TV. That kind of makes sense to me too. Again, like if it's the Miz stuff, great, fine, whatever. But Cody's done, I think the thing that Cody did better than anybody else, and I think the best thing he did at this time in AEW was he really took young talent or talent on the fringe and got them on the tracks and sent them off on their way consistently. And if there's anybody who needs to get back on the tracks, find a little mojo right now, it's Mustafa Ali. And I just think that Cody and him would work really well together right now, even if it was just for a night or two,
Yeah, I think the narrative for some people has been that Cody buried a lot of talent in AEW. And I think about the talent, and Sammy Guevara, of course, jumps to mind first and foremost. Talent that he worked with that gave them a bigger spotlight because of the stardom surrounding Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes is the second biggest star in WWE right now and the biggest star on Raw. That's a big spot to be in for somebody like Mustafa trying to come back and get that spot they were in before. So I think it could be cool,
Is Cody a bigger star than Roman?
No.
You don't think so?
Here's what I would say. I base it off of mainstream audiences. And I think if you put up who is this man and who is this man, right? It's like the Mickey Mouse Sonic the Hedgehog thing from 1995, where temporarily Sonic was a bigger star than Mickey Mouse. People know Roman Reigns. The casual fan knows Roman Reigns.
Okay, dude, I don't know. Okay, maybe I'm reaching here, but like those Go Big Show ads they ran obsessively. Like they'd still run obsessively. There was a period of time where Cody was still on AEW TV in commercial form. I don't think they do it anymore. But, there's like that airport factor. Like you're going through the airport, you're getting barraged by like, it's like, do you know who that? It's like, I think I've seen him. I think I think I've seen him level. I think Cody if it's wrestling fans, they might, I don't know, man. Like, I think it's an interesting conversation because Roman has done a movie, right? He did I guess, but Cody's, reality show host of a major national competition series. I mean, he had a chance to go out and really establish himself like outside of wrestling when he was doing the AEW stuff.
I think if you're going to make that argument, then you've got to make an argument for somebody like The Miz as well. And I'm not just saying that because I'm super biased, but on Dancing with the Stars, has his own reality show on USA.
That is a great point. And I think it's a valid point too, because like when you talk about The Miz, and it's a generational thing, right? Like I'm not expecting Gen Zers, right, to have watched the Real World Road Rules, 20 years ago.
What's a reality show, right?
But I did. And when I talk to people about wrestling and I bring up The Miz, there's people who are like, that guy from MTV? Yep. And I'm like, oh, you know The Miz, right? Like there's an audience for fans of Mike Mizanin out there beyond wrestling fans. I think it's a good point.
Well, and there's also, again, to the point of The Miz, Total Divas was a phenomenon beyond pro wrestling. I know people who watch Total Divas, who watch Dancing with the Star, who knew The Miz from Total Divas, right? And that's their connection. Would not know Roman Reigns. I think Cody Rhodes to me is still a tier beyond or below, but we'll see.
if you're only watching wrestling, then Roman. But again, it's like, who do people that don't watch wrestling? Like, what are the mediums that Roman Reigns has found himself on outside of the big WWE platform, right? So maybe we just accidentally made a case for the fact that the case that the Miz is a bigger star than Roman Reigns.
I mean, this ties into our Roman Reigns our Randy Orton commentary for later in the show about who's going to last longer in WWE, right?
Well, a conversation seems to have started here in the comments section. I'll start with Drew L saying, have Ali join Edge and Priest. My plant friend Nicholas here also said Ali might be the third member of Edge and Damian Priest stable. I don't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it, especially if it kind of led to them doing something with the Miz or AJ. I think AJ opened up the door for some AJ Ali matches. Sure, I don't hate it. I'm just coy on whatever Edge and Damian Priest are doing right now. It still seems not flushed out and a little all over the place for me at the moment.
I look at this as when you kind of put factions together, right? Either there's a hierarchy inside the faction, and I'm thinking about a lot of times in AEW, they'll have their main event star like Chris Jericho, and he's kind of surrounded by a tag team that's a focus, or some lower to mid card guys in the team as well. Or you have a stable like the NWO where everybody's a damn main eventer until they blow it up with everybody in the company. So if the point of this stable is to keep the focus on Edge, I don't think Ali belongs there, because I don't want him playing second fiddle to that. But if we're going to have, hey, these three guys, kind of like the Brood back in the day, coming together, they all represent themselves. They're all going to come out of this being bigger stars as a result. I love the idea.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to say no. I just don't know. I don't know. I'll throw this in too, just because it's where my head's at. I'll flip it up just a little bit. Like, so again, according to Fightful, Kane's supposed to be on Raw tonight. Now they're going to be in Knoxville, where he is the mayor of Knoxville. The early pitch for his WWE TV return is apparently to do a segment with Ezekiel and Kevin Owens. Isn't he the one you want doing spooky Brood stuff though? Like, his whole thing is turning the arena red.
I guess so. Do you think he'll come wearing a mask? And also, do you think he'll wear his Kane mask as well, in addition to another?
I think he comes out and he declares that it is Ezekiel Day. And this man is Ezekiel, much to the chagrin of Kevin Owens, who will huff and puff and try to blow the whole place down.
It's interesting with Raw, because talking about this feeling like a Raw after Mania vibe. And I think Raw in the last few weeks has become a much more interesting show, maybe going into Mania with the Cody Rhodes tease, and then coming out of it, it just feels a lot more wide open. It's almost like there's a level playing field. I love that Kevin Owens and Ezekiel have gotten this stuff, or Elias have gotten this Ezekiel shtick over just by playing their role so well. They've brought in other stars to kind of go in there, the Alpha Academy, right? Making this feel like it's a really interesting thing that I look forward to seeing what's the next chapter. Kane being in this could be fun if handled the right way. I think Raw has just this unique novelty factor going for it right now, whereas for months and months and months, WWE felt like the wash, rinse, repeat cycle. Break it up a little bit. Do stuff like this. It's a lot of fun.
Do we know what Kane's approval rating is as mayor in Knoxville, Tennessee? Do we know those numbers?
I do not know.
I feel like I want to know those numbers, because I do know that he's been tweeting some stuff, and I know that politics are all over the map and things. But my friends routinely, I mean, Hangman Adam Page dunked on him. Remember? Just like dunked on him with the chair shots to the head thing. And I wonder, like, has the opinion of Kane changed at all with wrestling fans because of like the stuff he's been more outwardly saying? Do we get boos, I guess, is what I'm wondering for Kane tonight.
Where is tonight's show again?
It's in Knoxville, where he.
Yeah, that's right. Of course. Yes. So he did recently announce his re-election. According to the Knoxville News Sentinel, March 23rd, he said he will run for re-election.
Okay.
I cannot see in here if it looks like they give an approval rating in here, but he has had to deal with some controversies. And of course, publicly, the mask thing has been a big joke because he wore a mask in wrestling and he refused to wear one outside of wrestling.
Right.
It's Knoxville's weird. He's a conservative running in Tennessee. He's much more likely to win there, but we'll see.
I don't know. All right.
I feel like I just take him less seriously. Like, it's different than the Undertaker, who protected his mystique for so long. Kane has gone so far beyond that mystique and beyond that mask that I think he shows up and it's like corporate Kane. who gives a rat's
He
rear
will
end?
come and he'll give Ezekiel the key to the city, or he'll make it Ezekiel Day, or he'll do something to legally announce that this is Ezekiel, the brother of Elias, infuriating Kevin Owens. All right. Lastly, here going into Raw, again, a Fightful report. And this is the one I know a lot of people were talking about early in the chat room as well. But Becky Lynch is going to come back to Raw tonight for the first time since losing at Mania. And the plan is for Asuka to at least enter a short-term program with Lynch, so she would also be coming back to TV. That could be as soon as tonight. There's been a lot of pitches from both the talent and creative about how to bring her back, but that is what it looks like. So a lot of potential big Ali, Becky, Asuka, Kane, a lot of big names could be coming back here tonight.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Asuka. You know, Becky Lynch is a great program for her. They'll have some fantastic matches. And of course, Becky playing the heel gives Asuka something interesting to do. I think their women's division on Raw could use a big pump up like somebody from Asuka, but I would much rather see her go to SmackDown and tackle Charlotte Flair. Yes, we've seen it before, but I'm over the Ronda Rousey thing. I think the heel dynamic of Charlotte versus Asuka could be a lot of fun. But hey, what if we get an Asuka heel run? I know Asuka is super lovable and super charming, but I think the time to turn her heel might be now.
Yeah, maybe, it's certainly going to be good for the women's division to have a program that does not involve the title, which is
Yes.
what I'm hoping this does. There just needs to be more women's stories right now playing out. I feel like the titles have become such a centerpiece for so much of what is going on with the women consistently. And if two women can put together like a blood feud that does not involve a title right now, Becky Lynch and Asuka, I don't think you could pick two women to fit the bill better.
Well, you know, without Roman Reigns on Raw currently, because he's spending all of his time on SmackDown, we actually have more women's champions on Raw than on SmackDown, with Bianca with her title, Sasha Banks and Naomi with the tag team titles, and Dana Brooke as your 24/7 champion.
Wow, you're right. Loaded ladies card over on Monday nights. We'll throw in the Xia Li note then here as we're talking about the women's division. She turned heel in a backstage segment on SmackDown, a vignette saying, "My name is Xia Li. I was the protector, but I see no one worthy of my protection. Now I protect myself." Man, doesn't even feel like they got to where they wanted to get going with her, and all of a sudden they're just turning a 180 on it, man. That's not a good sign for me.
Well, she wrestled Natalia earlier in the year and kind of had that little thing, but you got to give these characters time to develop. I guess they're just stuck with her, and I think she has a ton of potential. We'll see. But I also can see, and I don't mean this in any way personally, but I could see McMahon and company being like, "Oh, she represents China over on SmackDown. Asuka's our diversity play for Raw, right?"
I guess. I mean, but they're gonna hopefully use Asuka. Like this Xia Li. Xia Li was one of the coolest things in all of NXT.
That's
And
true.
then they brought her the main roster, and everyone's always kind of like, "Oh, are they gonna blow it?" Right? And then she came out with this like badass entrance with like lightning everywhere, and everyone was like, "This is the coolest shit ever. This is amazing. Hook this to my veins. This is what I want." And they didn't really ever do anything. I think it's just such a hurdle for Vince and Co. to not be able to speak English and tell stories. If you can't do it, then I just feel like they just forget about you and you get Nakamura'd, you know?
But I feel like Asuka has done a great job with that, even though that was an initial struggle for her. But you know what? I think they just struggle with women and telling their stories. Xia Li had that phenomenal entrance, and there was some buzz around that. Without anything else interesting for her to do, let's just flip her heel. But why did she turn heel? What does this even mean? Right? It reminds me kind of Shotzi Blackheart. They got no plans, man.
WrestleVote's reporting that there is somebody that WWE does have big plans for, and that is Theory. A source anticipates bigger and bigger things for Theory now that his push is in full effect. It was also stated that a source with direct knowledge said Vince, quote, sees a young John Cena in Theory and will, again, quote, give the kid everything he needs to be successful. First of all, I can tell you that whoever your source is definitely older because they called him the kid. But I'm gonna kind of put a tiny little circle around it. Yeah, look, Theory's doing great for them, right? You know, him and Riddle, despite some negative stories that have come out in the past year or so about both have. I mean, look, they're rolling right now. I think that the Austin Theory gets the shoulder lift celebration for the U.S. title was maybe a bit much, but whatever. These guys are rolling right now.
At least they have plans for somebody. It's both a little bit surprising and not surprising at all that it's Austin Theory. A little bit surprising because his size to me reflected that Vince might not be into it, but he has the Vince McMahon look. He's got the chiseled jaw, right?
Right.
He's got the charming smile. He's willing to play ball. And I actually think, based on this entire conversation, Nick, what would be interesting for me is if Austin Theory and Mustafa Ali went against each other, kind of like two young guns battling it out. Could be a great feud. Give them both something interesting to do. It reminds me back in the day when The Rock and Triple H went against each other on the mid card. The Intercontinental title meant something. These two could really elevate the U.S. title right now.
The matches would certainly be very, very good. That is for sure. I wouldn't argue with that. We have here a noob in Co 1991, John Cena with selfies. I don't know what that means, but what I will say is John Cena. Yeah, that's the thing right now. He's WWE saying Vince sees a young John Cena. You had John Cena today on Twitter earlier responding to Austin Theory's little dig at him on his birthday. You know, I think Cena said something like, "You have more talent than I ever had." Very, very big words here from Cena. One of our writers, as we were working on the story today, said, "Man, this feels." I think it was Matthew Wilkinson. I'll say says this feels like a SummerSlam match to me, and I think that, you know, maybe not a crazy, maybe SummerSlam, maybe Mania, I don't know, but an Austin Theory John Cena match doesn't feel too far off on the horizon for me at this point.
I think the most exciting thing is pair him with John Cena. That could be a lot of fun. John Cena could put over younger talent. Pair him with whoever. But Austin Theory is 24 years old.
Yeah.
And while we talk a lot about stars aging up, and there's been all these, look, yeah, Samantha points out Theory's 24. He's still a kid in my book. We talk
Right.
about all these, how the card has been anchored by older stars for quite some time. Brock Lesnar, right? We've had other guys coming back. Investing in somebody like this at this point and having him on the main roster is a big change of pace for, 3 or 4 years ago. He'd be spending a number of years in NXT waiting for a shot. A different approach, it could pay them dividends in the years to come, because to me, that's the area that they're really missing having some star power in, is these younger guys hungry for it.
Yeah. Well, what do fans want to see from WWE's product right now? Well, WWE is doing a survey amongst their fans right now, asking about the following. This comes from PWInsider.com. First of all, how many times a month a recipient watches Raw, SmackDown, and NXT? Also, how often do they attend live events? So they want to know your frequency. They want to know if you're interested in NFTs. Are you a wrestler? Who's interested in NFTs, by the way?
Who was the guys that have the little ape photos on their Twitter? Those are the guys who are interested in NFTs.
Okay. I guess there's a market because they keep getting brought up, but I have yet to meet somebody who's bought one. I've met people making and selling them. I know a lot of people making and selling NFTs. Don't know a lot of people that have bought an NFT yet.
But what if I told you could buy something?
Okay.
And I could copy that something by right-clicking my mouse. But you would still own it.
Okay.
How does this sound? Sounds good.
Sign
right?
me up, baby. I am an idiot and I have no idea what to do with my money. Please tell me what to do. All right. No offense to the NFTers of the world.
You could buy it with Dogecoin. How would that be? Would that make you more interested?
100%. Me and Doge, cookies and cream. That's how it goes over here.
You're the man.
Are fans interested in a wrestler ranking system? Are we interested in WWE adapting Tony Khan's AEW ranking system? Are we?
I mean, Tony Khan's AEW ranking system could use a little bit of refining in my mind.
Does it matter?
No.
Like, it doesn't. Does the ranking? Does AEW rankings? Does it matter?
Do you remember when Daniel Bryan did this? And he was like, the wrestlers can vote on one another. They can't vote for themselves, and we'll have the SmackDown ranking system. And it lasted for like 3 weeks. You remember that?
I do recall that. And I think it started off legitimately, and then Vince tried to rig it, and then they were like, what are we even doing? And then they just stopped. This is
the problem with them asking about a ranking system. It'll be the exact same thing again.
Well, because Scorpio Sky just came out and was like, I hate that I lost his title, and I didn't think you got automatic rematches in AEW. I thought you had to earn your way back, but that's not happening here. We're just getting right to the ladder match, right?
Yep. And WWE did away with it. It's ranking systems. I love the idea of them. They've got to be broader, and they kind of make it much more challenging for you to tell a story. It never happened. It'll never happen.
Are fans interested in real behind the scenes workings at WWE? Yeah, that's like how I pay my bills. I can tell you the fans are interested in that. Yes.
Was it actually in quotes whenever, like, what is in the real quote behind the scene workings in WWE?
Well, I guess they have to establish that it's not like the fake work. Like it's not gonna be watching Sonya Deville file like the necessary forms to have a SmackDown match come together, which for what it's worth is a show I would watch.
Are we going to have like a webcam in the room while everybody's waiting for 6 hours for Vince to come in for a creative team meeting?
Yeah.
Is it Vince responding to like Outlook calendar requests? He's like, yes, I will accept this meeting.
Yeah,
Decline.
Top Pro, Foru Gaming's open door meetings. Drew L here saying, I want to see a creative meeting. Yes.
It reminds me of like when Impact did that weird thing where like they were talking about like you'd catch the video footage of them behind the scenes, like we should push so and so. And you're like, wait, you're telling me that this is fake on the TV show where I'm supposed to buy into believability?
Whatever, man. Lastly here, which social media platforms does the fan follow with WWE? And I think it's a pretty simple question, but like Elon Musk is going to buy Twitter this week, guys. Like the Twitter is about to be sold. I'm doing this on, I guess, what is soon to be Elon Musk's platform. I wonder if there's not, do you think people leave? Do you think it stays the same? Do you think they add followers on Twitter? What do you think happens here with old Elon?
You think you're talking about WWE specifically or Twitter in general?
No, just Twitter in general. Do you think it keeps its power with old
I think
Elon
it's too early to say, but I believe that the chaos that surrounds like Twitter, for all its faults, still feels like a little bit cultivated. You can cultivate your own following. You can kind of stay in and out of conversations. The chaos that surrounds Elon Musk is going to hurt Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, we'll find out. I think I'm supposed to buy the stonks now and wait.
Doge. Hey, I have an NFT. Have you heard of NFTs? They're these great new ways to create art that isn't real, but you can sell it for real money.
Take my Okada bucks. All right. Lastly, here in our news block, before we get to the mailbag, in a new image posted on Twitter, the Wyatt family, Adam Shear, Eric Redbeard, and Wyndham Rotunda reunite, pose with each other with their four fingers extended. Shear explains that along with the late talented Brody Lee as part of their family, they make up the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And maybe that is the new name they want to try to use. Not sure. Yeah.
Has anybody bought the NFT of that picture yet? That's my real question.
I bought it and I put it in it's a necklace I wear. It's like Logan Paul style, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, it's already lost value. Okay. In all seriousness, God bless Adam. He's trying his damnedest. I feel like he has lost a ton of credibility in recent weeks and months due to his musings on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter. And I appreciate the sentiment, especially about Brody Lee, but I feel like this means a lot less to me with Adam's involvement.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Michael, I want to thank you for joining me to talk all the news of the day. Let's dive into the mailbag here to wrap up the first show of the week. Today's poll question: who is Randy Orton's greatest opponent ever? That comes to us from @Wink Daily, WINC Daily. About a little over 200 votes here. 61% of fans believe John Cena greatest Randy Orton opponent ever. 25.5 go with Triple H. 11.5 goes to Mick Foley, and 2% goes to literally everybody else he has ever feuded with. Do you think it's a blowout like the poll says? Do you think it's John Cena all the way?
It's Austin Theory. That's going to be the greatest feud of 2023. You just wait for it. No, it's got to be John Cena. These guys, and back in 2009, we hated it. These guys fought each other every pay-per-view, every month, but they literally unified the world titles at one point, and I believe that at some point, they will have one more match to break Ric Flair's record, and it's going to be at WrestleMania 2023, 2024. Book it.
Wow. Head-to-head. Cena versus Orton to crown the greatest wrestler of all time. I like that.
Wait for it.
I like that. Okay. No comments, no complaints to any of this. We're going to wrap it there, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. John Cena, that's all Issa wrote here. Issa joining the chat room at the very end of the show. whatever. Hey, Issa, Mike's gonna co-host, or he's gonna host the Daily next week while I'm gone in Spain. So you're gonna have to hang out with Michael and talk wrestling next Tuesday. It's gonna be great.
Gonna get to hang out. I get to hang out with you, Issa. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Did I say have to?
You said have to.
Oh, I meant to
You
say.
said I'm going to host it in Spain, though. Am I going with you on your vacation? Is that what you?
No, no. Nobody in my orbit gets to go with me except Liz.
What if I give you?
Okay.
What if I could give you
All right.
a picture of a monkey?
Oh, I'm in.
Okay, and I'll sell it to you.
Okay.
$5,000.
Wonderful.
It's not a real picture though.
Oh man, I'm in. I'm an idiot. Give it to me.
WWE wants you to watch their product.
Good. Man, I love Arby's. So I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be joined by Issa. We're gonna talk all the wrestling news the past 24 hours. Support Wrestling Inc. Daily. We're on all the podcast platforms. Support Wrestling Inc. We're on all the socials. And come back here tonight after Raw for the Wrestling Inc. podcast. It's like this, but it's at night, and they talk Raw in the news. Michael, what do you want to put over here before we wrap up the show today?
I was gonna say, y'all can follow me on Twitter, maybe, if it still exists at some point in the near future. I'm at The Real Wiseman, or I'm at Elon Musk, The Real Wiseman. Twitter now is different.
Okay. And I'm at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter for the time being, I suppose. Maybe I blast myself at outer space, get away from it. We'll find out. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked,